Welcome to The Glitter Effect, a podcast dedicated to shining a light on the movers, shakers, change makers, and all-round living legends of our communities who are making a real difference. We are absolutely honoured to welcome Esis Tawfik, who is the CEO of Aging with Grace, which is a remarkable organisation dedicated to empowering older Australians to live with dignity, independence and joy. And with a passion for supporting communities, Esis leads Aging with Grace with a deep commitment to inclusivity, advocacy and ensuring that everyone, regardless of their background, has access to the support they need as they age. So we're going to jump into a conversation with Esis and talk about her journey, what led her to this work, why she's so passionate about giving back, and the challenges and triumphs of running a community-driven organisation. And as always, we'll wrap up the Glitter Effect with takeaways and practical ways that you can get involved and make a difference. So join us as we sparkle together. Welcome to the Glitter Effect, Esis. I'm thrilled to have you on.
Thank you, Kate. It's lovely to be here with you.
Yeah, I will let our listeners know that we actually go way back. It's been a long time between drinks, should we say? But Esis and I should say I had the pleasure of working alongside Esis at Vision Australia, which is a blindness and low vision organisation. And we worked together. I think we worked out over 16 years ago is when I left. So, and I was there for 5 years. So it's been a while, but we've reconnected through the Glitter Effect, which is fabulous. And I am thrilled to find out all about what you're doing. So this is all about you, not me. So we'll start with the first question. So Aging with Grace. Can you share the story behind what Aging with Grace is and what inspired you to start it or become involved with something like this?
Well, the inspiration for Aging with Grace really grew from personal and professional experience, starting with my own parents, to be honest. As they aged, it took me a little bit by surprise, the impact that isolation had on them, loneliness, reduced mobility, and the loss of independence. You know, these really strong people that had raised me, I watched them before my eyes just become more vulnerable, more nervous, frightened at many times during experiences. So I became a strong advocate for them and supported them with my siblings, of course. So that was one of the inspirations behind Aging with Grace. I've also worked in the aged care and the disability service for close to 3 decades now, and combined with my earlier experience managing a self-esteem program in schools in the Gippsland region in Victoria for over a decade. It highlighted for me, I guess, the how vital human connection is at every stage of life, you know, from when we're at primary school all the way through. And these experiences really did shape my belief that everyone deserves to be valued, to be heard and connected. And basically that's the reason why I established Aging with Grace.
I love it. And I absolutely love this concept. And we were talking just offline before, but I think when I was reading into what you do, it really dawned on me that we were all acutely aware of the importance of connectivity during COVID, and insert groan because everyone relents that moment in time. But there were so many good things that came out of that because we actually had to take a step back and work out how to connect with people. And there are so many studies from that now that there was one in fact from Harvard that's showing across 8 studies that it said the richer the mix of different relationships in people's daily conversations makes them happier and more satisfied. And I think, you know, we've now gone back to where we were pre-COVID in life. And I think, you know, we can see the difference in connectivity is not where it was before. So I think, you know, what you've done is amazing. So the core, what impact does Aging with Grace have on the community? What have you seen? Firstly, how old is it? When did you start it?
Oh, it's very new still. I started it in 5th of August 2022. Excellent. And we received our first lot of funding on the 1st of July 2023 from the Australian government.
Yep.
We're funded for the Aged Care Volunteer Visitor Scheme. That program's actually been running for 33 years. So the government's been well aware of the issues of loneliness in older people for a very long time and provide funding across Australia to many organisations to provide this program. So we're very fortunate in that.
Yeah, that's great. And so tell us a little bit about what services you offer with Aging with Grace, and what your core mission is and the impact that you have.
So absolutely. So in a nutshell, what we want to do is create connections and enhance lives. So our goal is to empower people to live their best lives with dignity and grace as they get older. And that's not so easy to do. We have to work really hard as a society that we ensure that we keep respecting our older people and value them and see them not just as people that need our support, but they've got so much to give. So we do that at the moment through the One program, but we're really hoping to expand our services to digital programs, to supporting people become more independent in lots of different ways, to stay involved in their local communities, and to age positively, and maintain their well-being.
So are you a predominantly volunteer-led organisation? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have staff that run the program, they're coordinated, and then of course we rely heavily on our amazing volunteers, as do many community organisations.
Yeah. And how many roughly do you have? How many volunteers currently have you got?
Currently, we have 200 or so volunteers.
Wow, that's huge.
Yes,
So,
we do a really good job, I believe.
and is that it across Australia, or is that just we're based in Melbourne, Victoria? Is that where are you based?
No, so the organisation is permitted to work across Australia. Currently, we're working in the Northern Territory, the ACT, New South Wales, and Victoria. I hope to expand our services depending on funding.
Gosh, that's a big footprint in a short space of time, which that speaks volumes, doesn't it? It shows you that that service is needed. So, what are people going? Talk me through as a volunteer. What kinds of things are volunteers doing?
At the moment in our program, volunteers are connecting with older people. So what we call ourselves friendship makers. So what we do is we receive a referral for an older person who's experiencing loneliness and isolation. And I wish I could tell you the demand is decreasing. Unfortunately, it's increasing all the time.
Mm.
And then we find a volunteer that lives locally to them that might have shared interests or background, and we connect them as friends. And then we support that volunteer through that friendship journey. Um, what our volunteers do is amazing. They basically offer their time and their friendship and part of themselves, and it's a very reciprocal friendship. It's very much a shared joy between the volunteer and the older person.
That's very. It sounds really simple, and yet it's
It does.
it's beautiful. I love it. Now, we all know that running a community focused organization takes a lot of effort. So, what keeps you motivated through the challenges, and what have been the challenges, I suppose, in what's a very new organization?
Look, I think what keeps me motivated and what's always kept me motivated, because I've been in the not-for-profit space basically for my whole career. And before that, I was in the education space. But the difference I see that we make, that the work is genuinely improving someone's life, that just makes it all worthwhile for me. And whether it's, at Aging with Grace, it's easing loneliness or offering connections, or simply letting them feel seen and heard, our older people, it just makes the challenge so worthwhile. Our volunteers write to us monthly and let us know when they visited, and many times they'll tell us a little bit about their friendship, and the stories we hear, the stories we see just make every single day worthwhile.
That's beautiful. And look, we all know that connectivity is so important, but as you get older, it becomes less because you can't go out and everything. So I just think we forget when we're able and we're in the mix of a day-to-day working life, that connectivity, and you forget there are people who just don't have that luxury. So I think it's just reminding people that we can do something to support those that don't. I love this concept, totally love it. Now you talk about volunteers. Now we're actually seeing, unfortunately, fewer people volunteering due to life pressures. It depends on the sector, obviously. What do you think is the key to engaging more people in community work, and how have you attracted your volunteers in particular?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because volunteering is dropping at the moment, and all studies are saying that's the case. And we often see that when the economy is slow.
Yeah.
So I've been in the sector for over 30 plus years, so I've seen this a few times now. But we still have about 5 million Australians who are volunteering, and Volunteering Australia reports that they contributed over 489 million hours.
Wow.
And we do say wow, don't we? But if you actually took that 489 million hours and put a cost value to it, it would be phenomenal. But then you have to think about the other mind-blowing thing, which is what would happen if we took out that $489 million hours, I should say. The detrimental impact of that would be, again, phenomenal. So I think that's the thing we all need to keep in mind, the importance of the volunteering of volunteers in our community, and the importance of community organisations. But really what I see is the key to engaging more people in community work is to provide as much flexibility as we can.
Yeah.
And to also show them the impact of the difference that they're making, even in small ways. You know, when we see our volunteers, what they're doing, we tell them that how important their visits are. Those visits are making an impact on their older friends on a day-to-day basis. And we tell them when we're giving feedback from aged care providers or family that because of those visits, they're seeing their parent smile for the first time. They're seeing their parents become more engaged in their local community or in the aged care home community. We let our volunteers know that. So it's important that they actually know the impact of their visits and their contribution.
Yeah, and you need that reassurance, don't you? Even if you're a volunteer or working, you still always need that feedback to know you're doing the right thing and a good job. And I think that it's so important. What are the biggest misconceptions about working in the community sector, particularly volunteer-run organisations? And you and I both have been in volunteer-run organisations, so we are very well versed in this space. So what do you think?
Look, I think so a misconception is that we are somehow less professional, but in reality, we require a high level of skill, strategic thinking, and adaptability. We're often juggling complex human situations with limited resources. So that's really quite challenging. And in addition to that, shifting policy landscapes. So we're dealing with all that while maintaining compassion and ethical integrity in our service delivery. That's quite a bit to handle.
That's a lot.
It is. And another misconception I notice all the time is that we can provide services free of cost. Sure, we do mainly provide services free of charge, but that is very different than cost. So currently, Aging with Grace, we're funded for the Aged Care Volunteer Visitor Scheme, as I mentioned.
Yep.
We provide that free of charge. We're being funded by the Australian government, but it's significant cost to run that program, of course. So that's something that I often hear. People will ask for a service, and then when you say, well, we actually need to find the funding somehow, they become quite offended by that.
Yeah, and it's a minefield, isn't it? And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't understand, how hard it is to get programs like this up and running. It's not just you have the idea and you can run it. There's a lot of work that goes in the background, and you need those good people to then give that program the longevity that and continue that the money coming in. How can community organisations, do you think, I mean, I suppose if you use Aging with Grace as an example, how could you ensure long-term sustainability with the limited resources and declining number of volunteers? And I use this question because my thought is that every facet of our life has been modernized, and technology has helped increase the speed of everything and efficiency. And yet I feel like we're still volunteering mostly how we have been for decades and how we were post-war. So I just wonder, in your mind, what gives, how can we become sustainable when life isn't how it was in the 1940s, and yet we're still volunteering very similarly?
So that question's actually asked, the board and I ask that question probably at every board meeting, if I'm honest.
Oh, really?
But it really does rely on adaptability, building strong relationships, and really importantly, a diverse funding stream.
Yep.
We're fairly new, as I mentioned, but no organisation should rely on a single source of funding. It's important that we have a a mix of government support, grants, donations, partnerships, and, community fundraising. What's also very important is that we remain agile. And I know it might sound a bit jargony, but what I've noticed about organizations and programs that succeed and people that do well in this sector, because it's a fair bit of juggling, as I mentioned earlier. What succeeds are people that can be agile and flexible and willing to change with the times. There have been lots of changes. AI is coming in, so we need to think about how we can embrace that. For my generation, it's a little bit frightening, but I'll use it where it can benefit older people, and I feel genuine benefit for older people. We need to find new ways of engaging volunteers. So nothing I'm saying here is new. The peak bodies have been talking about that for a really long time. So we need to have flexible roles. Currently, the program we have, what I love about it is the volunteer chooses the time they volunteer, the day of the week, the time. Yes, we then match that to the older person. They can take a child with them. They can take a pet with them. Hopefully in the future, they'll be able to volunteer in pairs when they go visit. We're hoping for that in the future iteration of the funding. We did run for a short time a digital visiting program, and that was very successful. So I hope to receive funding in the future to do this again. And that's to connect people that are very remote or for whatever reasons choose not to have face-to-face visits. And we've got lots of issues that may impact on older people. They're immunocompromised, or they're living with a hoarding disorder, etc. So we need to really work on that agility, take into consideration lifestyles that are becoming much busier, and collaborate. That is a key to ensuring that we succeed and we continue to provide the services that we do.
Yeah, that's a really good answer you've given there, and I think it is really important. What sort of ages are your volunteers, just out of interest? What's the age range?
Our volunteers are from the age of 18
yeah.
to late 80s at the moment.
Yeah.
We've probably got a sweet spot between 40 and 65, where the majority of our volunteers lie. But I have to say, it's one of the programs that I love the breadth of it and the diversity of inclusion. So many of our volunteers don't speak English or speak English as another language. So their strength is their native tongue, which is exactly what we need with our older people, who often will revert back to their native tongue as they get older.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've only because I've got 3 boys who are 2 teenagers and 1 primary school, and we did, when they were younger, the intergenerational music groups at the aged care facilities, and this was way before COVID. But just seeing that and how both sides responded, including the parents, I think, I hope that translates moving forward for these younger ones coming through. And you saying if you've got 18 plus, that sort of obviously is working. So
absolutely. And there are other programs that include people younger than 18. Just this particular funding doesn't permit it, just because of some of the challenges that people might meet with friendship with older people. But those programs you're talking about that you involved your children with, kudos to you and your family. That is just brilliant. And I think it's just so important and terrific role modeling for people to experience the importance of community giving. And that is basically what started me with Aging with Grace. My mother was a huge advocate and role modeled for me the importance of giving back. In fact, I'd often come home and she'd given a piece of my clothing away that she felt somebody else needed more than I did. And when I was a teenager, I didn't really appreciate that so much. But as I grew older, it really hit home to me what an incredibly giving woman. She would do the same with her clothes, by the way. And we didn't have a lot. We were, typical migrants to Australia, had to work really hard to have what we did. But she just had that philosophy that if you had 10 pennies, you can give away. It doesn't matter if you have 10 pennies or 5 pennies, you could give away to others. I just loved that about my mother, and it has been a huge driver for me.
Yeah, which is great. And that's why, you're working in this space as well. But that's one thing I do spout on to my kids a lot and hope it does sink in at some point that, you don't have to have $1 million. You don't have to donate money every single time. That's lovely if you can, but there's so many other ways to spread your glitter that
Oh, absolutely.
equally.
Time is invaluable.
Yeah.
So giving your time, and as my mum did, she'd bake things for people. She'd sit and listen to them. She would give whatever she could. So that is such an important message. It doesn't have to be money.
Correct. Yeah. So on that, what small actions can people take in their daily lives to support organizations like Aging with Grace?
Look, to be honest, it's simple acts of kindness. So it doesn't even have to be formal volunteering, but if they were just going to have little acts, I think it's important that we all appreciate that we can have a positive impact on people. So little things, checking in on an older neighbor or an older person that you have come into contact with, maybe having a conversation with them can make such an enormous difference to them. Obviously, I want everybody to volunteer because that has a lasting impact. But if time is limited, people can also contribute by raising awareness of the organisation or helping with a fundraising initiative. I'd love people to put their hand up and say, look, we'd run some sausage sizzles for you, because that would, any funding I receive, we have a very flat organisation. So there's only myself as CEO and then my team that are program coordinators.
Yep.
So we don't have a lot of back office costs. We all work from home to ensure our costs stay minimal. So we put as much funding as possible to providing the services. So as I mentioned, fundraising initiatives or even donating services or skills. The key, I guess, for me when I talk to anybody who says, what can I do? Is do something, do anything.
Yeah.
Stay connected, stay aware, and even understand that even the smallest action that you take, making that phone call or going to that neighbor and say, hey, do you have time for a cup of tea, can create meaningful change in someone's life. I'll be talking to someone and they'll ask exactly that question. And when I say that to them, they'll go, oh, actually, I often will go have a cup of tea with the neighbor, down the road, or offer to mow their lawn. And I say, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be. Just small bites are great.
Which is beautiful. And on that, if you could wave your magic wand and change one thing, and there might be more than one, so feel free to divulge, about how society approaches aging, what would it be?
Oh, if I had a magic wand, I think I would love to change the way society views aging, shifting from seeing it as a period of decline to embracing it as a stage of growth, continued growth, a stage of wisdom and so much potential for all of us. A society where people are celebrated for their wealth of experience and knowledge that they bring. And that's one of the things that our volunteers often will tell us, what they've learned from their older friend, the wisdom, the experience, how it's helped them put a number of things for them in perspective. We had one volunteer who said to me, I was worried, I was feeling antsy and stressed because he was building a house and something wasn't working out well. And then I spoke to my older friend who had to hide in a trench that they had dug in the Second World War. And he said that put things in perspective for me for sure. I hung up because he was a digital volunteer. I hung up the phone and just felt so much less weight on me. I thought, yeah, I can get through this. If she could get through that,
yeah,
and protected her siblings, I can get through this easily.
Yeah.
My other wish would be to ensure that we really do keep our older people front and center of all decision making, asking them what they want. Lots of times when we offer the service to organizations or to aged care providers, they'll say, let me just check with her children or his children. And my answer to them is, can you tell me why you are? Are they able to make that decision for themselves? Oh, yes, I just need to check with them. So it's always challenging that. Now that putting them at the front and center is being addressed in the new aged care standards and the Aged Care Act. But I hope to continue to see that in practice. That's what's really important for me. And I guess as we're all aging, it's really important because we're investing in our future too.
This is it. This is what's becoming more apparent as we're
Yes,
talking. This
yes.
is us. as well. So
Yes,
you're right,
yes,
right.
absolutely.
It's,
We need a society that values the voices and needs and preferences of older people, which we will be. If
mm,
I wanted to start the day with dessert, that's my right.
yeah.
I can do that. And that's really important that we keep listening to the voices of older people.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I love that. Now we talk a lot about people who bring the glitter effect or that extra sparkle to their communities. Do you have anyone in particular, as I refer to them, glitter kings and queens, that have inspired you along the way?
It's really hard for me to pinpoint one person because I have been in the very fortunate position to work in a sector of kindness.
Yeah,
My children would always say to me, "Why do you know, you've set us up in our jobs. You've always looked so happy and so sparkly when you've come home and you've shared these amazing stories." So we thought we'd go out into the workforce and feel the same every day. And it's been a challenge, but for me, it's been the volunteers I've worked with throughout my career. They've inspired me. And at many times, Kate, I have been absolutely in awe of their generosity of time and other things.
yeah.
So, and of course, my darling mother, who taught me the value of kindness and charity and giving without hesitation. But it's been the volunteers and that have been absolutely the glitter kings and queens throughout my career. I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, that's I love that. And now to wrap up, you've touched on it already, but what's your one glitter effect tip, one practical thing our listeners can do to spread their glitter and make a difference today or this week?
Yeah, I have touched on it. Just get involved somehow, somewhere. Find what you're passionate about. Find something that resonates with you, and then go out and do it. And it doesn't even have to be official volunteering if you don't want to, but we'd love you to, of course. But just get up and do it, please.
Amazing. Now, Esis, if anyone wants to find out more about Aging with Grace and the fantastic work that you do, how can they find out more about you and how can they get involved if they want to?
You can go to our website, agingwithgrace.org.au, or you can email me on info@agingwithgrace.org.au. And aging has an E in it. So it's aging, AGEING. Or you can call me on 0491 272 417. I'd love to talk to you about volunteering. Or if you've got an older person you'd like to refer to the service, or you've got opportunity for funding of a program, I'd of course love to hear from you.
Amazing. Lots of opportunities. And hopefully, we wish you all the very best with everything. And I will be tapping in with you just to see how you're going. Esis Tawfik from the Aging with Grace. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you on the Glitter Effect. We wish you all the best. And we hope to catch up with you again soon. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, Kate Ganneil, on the Glitter Effect. If you've loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep showing up, making an impact, and sprinkling that glitter wherever you go. Bye for now.